Hello and welcome to this special holiday episode of Larissa's Kitchen. Over the course of this video, I'll be both making and decorating gingerbread houses and gingerbread ornaments. Now this whole process is best done over a couple of days. On the first day, we'll be making and baking the gingerbread house pieces. After a couple of days of allowing them to completely cool and harden, we'll assemble the houses. Then on the following day, we finally get to decorate. To get this process started, we're going to need just a few pieces of specialty kit. Primarily, a good rolling pin. Now I like this baker's pin because the entire length of the rolling pin is its rolling surface. I've also outfitted it with these rolling bands. This allows me to make sure that every single thing I roll is exactly the same thickness, and you need that for a sturdy house. Now speaking of the houses, we can either use patterns and a knife or a pizza wheel to cut these out, or if you're going to be making a lot of gingerbread house cookies for a gingerbread house decorating party, this gingerbread house cookie cutter set works perfectly. To get started baking these cookies, I've got my oven preheating to 375 degrees. This is 1 cup of shortening that I've melted and then allowed to cool just a little bit. This is 1 1/4 cups of unsulfered molasses. Now you could use either light or dark. It will just change the color of the gingerbread house cookies when they're finished. This is 1 cup of white sugar. We're going to mix this all together in the mixing bowl until it's combined thoroughly. Okay, with the mixer on low, we're going to beat in 2 large eggs. Okay, next we're going to be adding in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, and 1 teaspoon of ground cloves. And we're going to add this in before we turn on the mixer. Okay, we're going to go ahead and scrape down the sides of this mixing bowl. We can just use the beater for that. Then we're going to be adding in 5 to 6 cups of all-purpose flour. Now this dough is going to be very stiff because we're using it for construction and not for eating. When we start adding this flour, we're going to start with 2 cups the first time and allow that to incorporate. Then we're going to add a cup at a time after that. Okay, we'll give this a check. Okay, you can see that's not sticky at all. That means we have enough flour. If it were still sticky, we would just need to add a little bit more flour. All right, we're going to take this cookie dough over to the granite and start rolling it out. Now we are going to need flour to dust with. Okay, we are going to roll this dough directly on this parchment paper. That way, after we cut out the cookies, all we have to do is slide the parchment paper directly onto the pan we're going to be baking these on. So we're going to go ahead and dust this with just a little bit of flour and then roll it out to the proper thickness. Okay, for each house we need 2 of each shape. Okay, and now we're just going to peel away all of the cookie that we're not using. And that goes back in the pan to be re-rolled. Okay, these go in the oven for 10 to 15 minutes. We don't want them overly browned, but these do need to be baked through. For any of these cookies that we're going to use as ornaments, we need to put a hole in the top before we bake them so that we can thread our ribbons through. We just do that with a regular old drinking straw. So locate where you're going to put the hole and then just press down. Before we begin any cookie construction, we need to have a solid foundation. Now, each one of these boards is 2 cake boards that I've taped together and then wrapped in a single layer of aluminum foil. Now, you need to make sure that the back is very smooth because this is going to be setting down and we want it to be stable as well as sturdy. Now, if you've been watching along and decided that all this baking and cutting is not quite your cup of tea, but you'd still like to make a gingerbread house, you've got a couple of options. This is a store brand kit. Now it's just the cookies and it does cost about $7. All of this dough is going to cost about the same amount to make, and if you use it judiciously you'll get 3 houses out of it. So 3 houses versus 1 house. It's your choice. You also have this entire gingerbread house kit. Now this gingerbread house kit does come with candy and icing and it makes one house, and it does cost about $10. Now this does have one major drawback, and that's the icing. We can't use it because it's buttercream icing. Buttercream icing will never harden, and the fats in the icing will cause your cookies to soften, and that causes construction catastrophe. So we're going to be putting all of our houses together with royal icing. We only need 3 things to make this royal icing. 2 pounds of powdered sugar, 6 tablespoons of meringue powder. Now this can be found at any hobby shop or most grocery stores carry it as well, along with 5 to 6 ounces of warm water. We're going to add the meringue powder to the powdered sugar and mix it up. Then this is going on the mixer and we're going to slowly add in the water. Okay, we want to whip this royal icing on medium-high speed for about 1.5 minutes. The icing will become glossy and it'll form stiff peaks for you. Alright, the reason why we use royal icing is because it dries hard as a rock, which is its drawback. You cannot leave this to sit, which is why that icing kit, or why the gingerbread kit doesn't give you royal icing, because it would just be a brick by the time that you got to use it. So we're going to need to use all of this today and probably within 2 hours. Now, if you're only making 1 house, you could have that recipe and just do 1 pound of powdered sugar. Alright, so we're going to be using disposable piping bags because we don't want any that have had any oil in them, so we don't want to use your reusable piping bags if you have any. And for this, we're just going to use 1 single tip. I'm not even going to use a coupler. Okay, this is just the disposable tip that came with the kit, so I'm going to use this. That way I don't have to fish this out of here. I can just toss this with the bag. All right, the easiest way to fill these is to put this, open this bag over a drinking cup and then fill it this way. Okay, it looks like I have a lot of this left over, but I'm actually going to be tinting this a couple of different colors to make tree boughs, riverstone, and shingles. Okay, these are your 2 end pieces. We're going to lay these down. Then the short pieces are the sides and these tall pieces are the ceilings, the roof pieces. So we're going to start by laying our sides and our end pieces like this. We're going to add the icing here, and then we're going to set these up one at a time and put the sides in place. Okay, now I'm going to add a little extra icing on the inside. You won't see that, but it will help to strengthen these joins. Now this one has much thicker walls. This is the store brand. Okay, and we're gonna let the houses set up like this for just a little bit before we attempt to put the roofs on, because they are kind of heavy. Okay, and this is the whole kit, the Wilton's kit. Of all the cookies, these are the best baked. Okay, if you have a lot of icing on the outside like this, you should probably smooth it down, because this will dry rock hard and that will be hard to decorate over. Alright, now in order to put on the roofs, we're going to put the royal icing on the sides because the roofs do overhang, so it's impossible to figure out where these go. We'll put a little bit down here. Okay, one will go on. Okay, and then we'll turn this around and do the next one. Okay, now we're going to leave this for at least one day. We are finally ready to decorate these gingerbread houses. Now, as you can see, I've got a variety of candies here, along with this sugar cone, which is what we'll be making the Christmas tree with. I've also got pretzels and an extra bag of royal icing standing by. So, let's get creative. Oh, the whole thing. Start over.